My name is McKenzie Thompson, and at 28, I stood on my Aunt Laura's doorstep, clutching a homemade bourbon pecan pie and a bag of carefully wrapped gifts, my heart pounding with a fragile hope that this Christmas would be different. The crisp, December air stung my cheeks as I waited, the festive glow of Laura's meticulously decorated suburban home casting long shadows across the snow-dusted lawn. I had spent weeks preparing for this moment, driven by a rare invitation from my mother, Karen, to join the family for Christmas dinner, a gesture that felt like a lifeline after years of estrangement. But when Aunt Laura opened the door, her face hardened into a mask of contempt, her eyes rolling dramatically as she delivered words that cut like ice. "We don't want you here. Go ruin someone else's holiday." Through the doorway, I glimpsed my family mom adjusting a centerpiece, my brother Connor pouring wine, my sister Amber laughing at her phone gathered around a table that had no place for me. The rejection was a physical blow, stealing my breath. I nodded, managed a quiet "got it," and turned away, the pie and gifts heavy in my arms as I retreated to my car. Tears blurred the cheerful holiday lights into smears of color as I collapsed behind the wheel, the weight of betrayal settling in. 10 minutes later, my father, David, burst through that same door, shouting my name, his voice a beacon in the darkness of that fateful Christmas night. Before I dive deeper into that evening, let me pause to ask, where are you reading this from? Have you ever felt the sting of betrayal from those who should love you most? If so, know you're not alone. My story is one of heartbreak, but also of healing, of learning that sometimes leaving is the first step toward reclaiming your worth. Growing up in the Thompson family was like navigating a minefield, especially after my parents' divorce 5 years earlier. My father, David, a civil engineer with a small firm, was my rock hardworking, patient, and always genuinely interested in my life. He'd listened to my dreams of becoming an architect, countering every doubt with encouragement. My mother, Karen, was different, distant, consumed by her social circles and the need to maintain appearances. The divorce wasn't a shock, but its fallout was catastrophic, splitting our family into factions. My Aunt Lavra, Mom's younger sister, had always been a sharp presence in my life. Her criticisms relentless even when I was a child. Architecture isn't practical for someone like you, Mackenzie, she'd say at family dinners, her tone dripping with condescension. You've never been good with details. Each jab chipped away at my confidence, but Dad was always there to rebuild it. His quiet reassurances a balm when we'd return home from those tense gatherings taught my siblings, Connor and Amber, navigated the divorce differently. Connor, 2 years my senior, aligned himself with Mom, embracing her practical worldview and studying business to follow the path she and Lavra approved. Amber, only 16 when the divorce happened, took it hardest, retreating into her art and music, but somehow falling under Laura's influence, hanging on her every word about rebuilding a proper family. The divorce itself was a brutal affair, a year-long battle fueled by Laura's insistence that Dad was hiding money. Her mantra, "Your father abandoned this family," became a constant refrain, poisoning my siblings' perceptions despite Dad's unwavering presence at every school event, every medical appointment, every milestone. When the dust settled, Connor and Amber chose to live with Mom in the family home, while I, at 23 and finishing my architecture degree, spent weekends with Dad in his modest downtown apartment. The divorce created a canyon between us, with holidays becoming diplomatic negotiations, often mediated by Lavra, who acted as Mom's mouthpiece. Your mother doesn't think it's appropriate for you to bring your father's new girlfriend to Thanksgiving, she'd say, though Dad wasn't even dating. Or, we've already made plans with Connor's girlfriend's family, so there's no room this year. Each exclusion stung, but Dad never spoke ill of them. They're still processing, he'd say, making French toast on Christmas. Mornings when I couldn't face Laura's annual Christmas Eve dinner. Family is complicated, Mac. Just keep showing up when you can. 4 months before that Christmas, I landed my dream job at Evergreen Design, a boutique architectural firm focused on sustainable urban housing. The work was grueling 14-hour days hunched over drafting tables and 3D models, but exhilarating. My first major project was designing affordable, eco-friendly apartments for a downtown revitalization effort, a chance to prove myself. Dad was overjoyed, calling to celebrate and asking detailed questions about my designs. Mom, when I shared the news, was politely disinterested. That's nice, dear. Did you hear Connor's been promoted to regional manager? We're all so proud. Despite the dismissal, I kept trying to bridge the gap. I invited Mom for coffee, sent Amber tickets to art exhibitions, even congratulated Laura on her promotion at the bank where she'd worked for 20 years. Most of my efforts were met with brief acknowledgments or rain checks that never materialized. So when Mom called in early December with a hesitant invitation to Christmas dinner at Laura's, I was stunned. We think it's time to put the past behind us, she said, her voice softer than usual. Laura's making her famous prime rib. Everyone will be there. I pressed, hopeful yet wary. Everyone? Well, not your father, obviously, she replied, a familiar edge creeping in. But Connor's bringing Stephanie, and Amber's excited to show you her college application portfolio. I spent days weighing the invitation, hope battling history. For this occasion, I decided to pour my heart into thoughtful gifts. A restored 1980s photo of Mom and Grandma for her, vintage blueprints of our city's first skyscraper for Connor, a portfolio of my college work with notes for Amber, and even a custom engraved silver pen for Laura, inscribed with "To New Beginnings." It was expensive, elegant, and perfectly suited to her tastes. You're setting yourself up. Dad warned when I told him about the invitation, his brow furrowed with concern. Corinne and Lavra have a pattern. I brushed it off, wrapping Connor's blueprints in silver paper. It's been 5 years, Dad. Maybe they're ready to move forward. He squeezed my shoulder. I hope you're right, kiddo. But if things go sideways, you call me, promise? I nodded, never imagining I'd need to. The weeks before Christmas were a blur at Evergreen Design, with our team racing to finalize the housing proposal before the holiday break. My small loft apartment, a converted space and an old textile factory, became a crash pad for quick showers and rare naps. You look like you've been hit by a festive freight train, my best friend Jenna teased over a rare lunch break. We'd bonded in college over shared music tastes, and her blunt honesty remained my anchor. Deadlines plus family reunions equals zombie McKenzie, I admitted, downing my third coffee. But the project's looking good. Stanton called. My sustainability solutions elegant? Jenna raised an eyebrow, skeptical about my family plans. Are you sure about this Christmas with the villains thing? They're not villains, I countered. They're family. Family who've made you feel like crap for years, she shot back. Last Christmas, Laura said they were full up when you called about dinner. I clung to hope. Mom. Sounded different this time. I want to see Amber before she heads to college. My coworker Kyle, a newer friend who didn't know the full history, offered a fresher perspective as we calibrated a 3D printer at work. Family's complicated, he said. My parents didn't speak for 3 years after my sister's wedding disaster. Now they're vacation buddies. I texted Jenna his anecdote as proof. People can change. She relented slightly. Leopards and their spots, though. Adding to my stress was a recent dating disaster with a guy named Jason who ghosted me after 3 promising months, only to resurface with a cliché, "It's not you, it's me" text. The timing, just before the holidays, amplified my loneliness. Dad invited me to his colleague Frank's annual Christmas gathering, but I declined once Mom's invitation arrived. You're sure? he asked, making his legendary lasagna in his cozy apartment. I need to try, Dad, I said, setting the table with his mismatched dishes. For me, not just for them. He nodded. Call if it goes sideways. The day before Christmas, I baked Grandma Thompson's bourbon pecan pie, a recipe Dad taught me during our first post-divorce Christmas. The rich, sweet scent filled my loft as I packaged gifts and wrote heartfelt cards. I tried on 4 outfits before settling on a forest green sweater dress with gold accessories, festive but not overdone. I added Grandma's delicate gold necklace, a graduation gift from Dad for luck. That night, sleep eluded me, my mind oscillating between worst-case scenarios, awkward silences, passive-aggressive jabs, or being relegated to the kids' table, and the hope of reconciliation Dad had always nurtured. Tomorrow's going to be different, I told my reflection before drifting off. It has to be. Christmas morning dawned bright, sunlight glinting off fresh snow. My phone buzzed with texts, Jenna's moral support with a chaotic family selfie, Kyle wishing me luck, and Dad's simple, Merry Christmas, kiddo, love you. I responded, while sipping coffee from a chipped mug Amber made years ago, a relic of simpler times. Merry Christmas, Dad, I texted. Heading to Laura's around 4, full report tomorrow. I'm 1 call away, he replied instantly. The hours crawled by as I prepared, packing the pie, arranging gifts, and perfecting my appearance. By 3 o'clock, my stomach was in knots, but the green dress complemented my auburn hair, and Grandma's necklace caught the light. I hummed nervously to Christmas classics during the 40-minute drive to Laura's suburban neighborhood, a spectacle of synchronized lights and festive decorations. Her large Tudor-style home outshone them all, its massive spruce visible from the street. I parked behind Connor's BMW, gathering courage as laughter and music drifted from the house. They were already celebrating without me. New beginnings, I whispered, grabbing the pie and gifts. The cleared path to Laura's door, lined with glowing lanterns, felt like a gauntlet. I pressed the doorbell, the Westminster chimes echoing inside, followed by a lull in conversation. My heart raced as footsteps approached. The door swung open, revealing Lavra in a designer red dress, her pearl necklace gleaming. For a fleeting moment, I thought her eyes widened with warmth, but her expression shifted to disdain. We don't want you here, she said coldly. Go ruin someone else's holiday. The words hit like a slap. Behind her, the warm living room framed my family in a perfect tableau. Mom, Connor, Amber oblivious to my presence. I was invited, I managed, my voice small. Mom called. Laura's grip on the door tightened. Karen made a mistake. We decided it would be uncomfortable having you here. Surely you understand. I looked past her, desperate for someone to notice, but no one did. Got it, I said, turning away. Merry Christmas. Halfway down the path, the door clicked shut, and tears spilled over, blurring the festive lights. I placed the pie and gifts on the passenger seat and collapsed behind the wheel, hands trembling too badly to start the car. The humiliation burned. Worse than the cold, they had discussed me, deemed me an inconvenience, and let me prepare and drive across town only to be rejected. I called Dad, sobbing so hard he could barely understand me. They don't want me there, I choked out. Laura said they all decided after Mom invited me. His voice hardened. Where are you now? Around the corner. I can't drive like this. Stay put. I'm coming. 20 minutes. I hung up, tears doubling the lights of neighboring homes, their joy mocking my isolation. I drove to Willow Creek Park, a few blocks away, parking by a frozen pond dusted with snow. The deserted playground stood like snow-covered sculptures under streetlights. I kept the heat running, staring at the pie and gifts, symbols of my naive hope. The shock gave way to a hollow ache. This wasn't a misunderstanding, but the culmination of years of rejection. Memories flooded back. Last Thanksgiving's accidental missing place setting. Connor's graduation I learned about on Facebook. Amber's art show where mom introduced me as Karen's daughter. I'd rationalized each slight, determined to be the bigger person. Scrolling through family photos on my phone, I saw myself standing apart in recent ones, already being erased. How had I not seen it? How much had I sacrificed trying to earn love from people who wouldn't give it? Jenna texted, "How's it going with the Christmas villains? Need an extraction plan?" Before I could reply, headlights swept across the park. Dad's old Volvo pulled up, and he stepped out, his face tight with concern. I stumbled into his arms, sobbing like I hadn't since the night he moved out. "She said they didn't want me there," I choked. "They discussed it?" He held me tight, stroking my hair. "You were everything, McKenzie. They're the ones missing out." We stood in the cold, Christmas lights twinkling in the distance. As I poured out every detail, the preparation, Laura's cold eyes, the family tableau. "I'm such an idiot," I said, wiping mascara-streaked cheeks. "You tried to warn me." "You're not an idiot," he said. "You're brave for believing in family." He glanced at my car, jaw tightening. "I've respected Karen's space for 5 years, but this crosses a line." Dad checked his watch, his expression shifting to determination. "Change of plans. We're going back. Back to Laura's?" I protested, panic rising. "No way." "Yes way," he said. "This ends tonight." "Not for them, for you." His certainty steadied me. "Okay, but if she slams the door, we're getting ice cream." "Deal." He smiled, a flash of the dad who'd built blanket forts. We transferred the pie and gifts to his car and drove back, my hurt hardening into resolve. Dad revealed Laura's history of isolating anyone she saw as competition for mom's attention, including me, because I maintained a relationship with him. "In Laura's world, loyalty is absolute," he said. "You're guilty by association." At Laura's house, Dad pounded on the door, his hand on my shoulder. Lavra answered, her smugness faltering at the sight of him. "David, what are you doing here?" she snapped. "This is a private family gathering." "Exactly," Dad replied, voice steely. "That's why McKenzie should be here." Mom appeared, wineglass in hand, confused. "What's going on?" Laura tried to dismiss us, but Dad's voice carried. "Your sister turned our daughter away after you invited her." The living room went silent as Connor and Amber appeared. Mom's face drained of color as Dad recounted Laura's words. "Lavra, is this true?" she asked. Lavra deflected, but I found my voice. "You said, we don't want you here. Go ruin someone else's holiday." After I drove 40 minutes with pie and gifts, Amber gasped. "Mom invited you weeks ago." The confrontation unraveled Laura's. Control, exposing years of manipulation lies about Dad's fidelity, intercepted letters to Amber, deleted messages to Connor. Mom, realizing the extent of Laura's deceit, ordered her to leave. Lavra stormed out, slamming the door, leaving a heavy silence. We laughed. A cleansing release when Amber pointed out the irony of my pecan pie. Laura was allergic to pecans. Mom took the pie, her voice soft. "You made Grandma Thompson's recipe?" I nodded. "Dad taught me." Regret crossed her face. "Laura convinced me it was too fattening." Connor admitted, "Laura convinced us of a lot of things." We decided to leave Laura's house, its decorations tainted by her influence, and regroup at Dad's apartment. We packed food, gifts, and personal items, dismantling Laura's orchestrated Christmas. At Dad's modest 2-bedroom, we gathered. Around his coffee table, fine china on paper towels, wine in mismatched mugs. It wasn't perfect till hurts flared and silences lingered, but it was authentic. We shared stories, Connor's hidden love for photography, Amber's art school plans, Mom's desire to return to teaching. We opened gifts, each one a step toward reconnection. Amber's hand-illustrated book of our childhood memories, with a hopeful blank page for our future, brought tears to my eyes. Mom cried over the restored photo. Connor marveled at the blueprints, and I gave Amber my college portfolio, encouraging her art. 6 months later, on a warm July evening, we gathered at my loft for a casual dinner. Mom, now teaching again, brought a salad. Connor, exploring photography, brought wine. Amber, thriving in art school, shared sketches. Dad arrived with dessert, and Kyle, my coworker turned boyfriend, moved comfortably among them. Lara remained a shadow, her attempts to manipulate rebuffed by our new boundaries. Mom had moved into a sunny apartment, Connor started therapy, and Amber's art blossomed. I threw myself into work, my design selected for the housing project, and began therapy to unlearn my reflex to brace for rejection. Our scars remained Mom's deference, Connor's defensiveness, Amber's withdrawal, my fear of rejection, but we were choosing each other daily, tending our relationships with intention. I learned my worth wasn't tied to others' approval, but to the table I built for those who valued me. That Christmas, I sought acceptance on Laura's doorstep. Now, I hosted my family in my space, offering my authentic self and receiving the same. It wasn't perfect, it was real. Have you ever walked away from something you desperately wanted to find what you truly needed? Your story might inspire someone else to set their own boundaries this holiday season. Sometimes the people who deserve a place in your life are the ones who never make you question your belonging.